The 8th time I found Keith Hayes in bed with another woman. This time I didn't argue. Instead, I just handed my jacket to the new girl. My voice flat. Use the back exit. She gave me one terrified look before scrambling out the door, clutching the jacket like a shield. Keith, propped against the headboard, watched me, a cigarette already lit. Leave her alone, Amelia. She's different, actually. Fragile. It's her birthday tonight, so I'll be staying with her. Don't wait up. I nodded, a cold laugh catching in my throat. Because Keith didn't know yet his new mistress had HIV. Used condoms littered the floor. The air was thick with a stale, familiar scent. I put on a mask, opened the window wide, and did not look at him again. He blew a lazy smoke ring, watching my movements with idle curiosity. Change of heart. Not filing for divorce today. Finally learned how the world works. Yes. My voice was soft. I've learned. Keith scoffed. Took you long enough. He stretched the picture of indolence and began pulling on his clothes. In our circles, the marriage contract is just the opening act. Once the performance is over, everyone finds their own entertainment. It's better you accept it. Saves us the tedious drama. I turned, silently, watching him button his shirt. You really aren't coming back tonight? I asked. Nope. He buckled his belt, glancing at me. Why? Is today some special occasion? I shook my head. Just asking. Oh, right. He paused at the doorway. We're running low on condoms. Could you pick some up when you get a chance? Sure. The door clicked shut. I stood by the window a moment longer, watching his headlights cut through the night, disappearing at the end of the tree-lined drive. Then I picked up my phone and dialed a number. He's gone, I said. You can start cleaning now. 5 minutes later, 3 people in full hazmat suits entered the room. They efficiently gathered the scattered condoms, wiped down every surface with a special disinfectant, and stripped all the bedding, sealing it in airtight bags. A lead woman, a middle-aged professional, nodded to me. Mrs. Hayes. It's all handled. Rest assured there will be no risk of infection left behind. Thank you, I said. Especially this bedroom. Make sure it's thoroughly disinfected. Understood. I saw the wedding photo on the wall, defaced with a lipstick X by one of his lovers. His affairs had cost me 2 pregnancies, leaving me unable to conceive again. I calmly closed the bedroom door, turned and walked downstairs. On the living room coffee table sat a cake box. I picked up the complimentary candle, stuck it into the cake and lit it. Keith only remembered that today was his mistress's birthday. He forgot it was mine, too. The flame danced. I stared at it for a long time, then blew it out. I had planned to ask for a divorce, but now I didn't want to. I wanted all his assets, all his power. For 5 consecutive days, Keith didn't come home, but his mistress, as if given silent permission, messaged and sent videos to me, right on schedule. He said I'm the kind of person he really wants. He said he's been tired of a homebody like you for ages. He's not coming back again tonight. Aren't you lonely sleeping alone? I didn't reply to a single one. I just took my medication on time, had my regular checkups, slept soundly, and instructed my assistant to categorize and archive all her screenshots. On the 6th night, Keith called me. I was at the hospital then, having just finished a series of tests, sitting on a bench in the hallway waiting for the results. His voice on the phone was hoarse, tinged with the breathlessness of overindulgence. Amelia, he called my name. Someone's been snapping pictures of Chloe and me lately. There's an interview tomorrow. I need you to come to the office and help her clear things up. I was silent for 2 seconds. Clear what up? Just say it was all a misunderstanding, that she's just a student I'm sponsoring, and you were there, too. He paused. You know, she's young. She can't handle all this public scrutiny. I looked down at the needle marks on the back of my hand. That hadn't quite faded. Okay, I said. A clear sigh of relief came from the other end. You're always so understanding. His tone softened. How about I come home tonight and spend some time with you? It's been a while since we. I'm not really available these past couple of days. I cut him off, lowering my gaze. My period. The phone line went quiet for a moment. All right. He sounded a bit annoyed, but quickly returned to his coaxing tone. Well, get some sleep then. And don't overthink things. After hanging up, I looked at the darkened screen and suddenly felt like laughing. He thought I was saving myself for him. He had no idea. I simply found him disgusting. The next day's interview was scheduled. In the lobby of the Hayes Court building. The media turned out in full force. A flurry of cameras and microphones aimed at us. The model couple. I linked my arm through Keith's. My makeup flawless, my smile gentle and poised. When asked about the rumors, he instinctively glanced at me. I took the microphone from him. This has all been a misunderstanding, I said, my smile practiced and calm. Miss Davis is a student my husband sponsors. She's been unwell and he's shown her appropriate kindness. A few photos were taken out of context and given a rather dramatic interpretation. I trust we can all now put this to rest. Someone from the crowd pressed on. Mrs. Hayes, are you truly not bothered at all? I turned my head to look at Keith. My eyes full of devotion. And trust? Of course I trust him. At that moment, his grip on my wrist noticeably tightened. But halfway through the interview, his phone buzzed with a message. Keith's face changed almost instantly. He stood up, not even sparing me a glance. My apologies. Something urgent just came up. Said this to the host, and was already turning to leave. I remained seated, still holding the microphone. The media erupted in a stir. Someone loudly asked, Mr. Hayes. Is it about Miss Davis? We heard she was hospitalized. His steps faltered for a second. Then he walked out without looking back. I sat there alone in the brightest spotlight, cleaning up his mess, continuing to play the part of the devoted wife. Afterward, Ryan, my assistant, cautiously asked, Mrs. Hayes, are you all right? I stood up, straightened my dress and smiled. I'm perfectly fine. And I truly was. Because I knew he had just pushed me one step closer to the finish line. That night, he didn't come home. He only sent me a message. Her fever is really high. I'm at the hospital. You go to sleep first. I replied with a single word. Okay. Then I thought for a moment and sent another message. My mom isn't feeling too well. I need to go back to my parents' place tomorrow for about a month. Want me to come with you? It's nothing serious. I can handle it. Okay. I sent the message, set my phone aside with a quiet exhale, and turned my attention to the newly arrived report on my desk. Its conclusion was stark. Incubation period complete. The virus is now transmissible. The next morning, I packed my bags and left the mansion. As the car drove out of the tree-lined driveway, I glanced in the rearview mirror. At the house I'd lived in for 4 years. Morning mist hadn't lifted yet, and a dull gray light enveloped the entire garden. The garden was filled with red roses. He'd had them flown in from France years ago, simply because I'd once said I liked them. The golden boy of the city's elite social scene, a true scion of wealth, had spent months planting those 999 roses with me by hand. Back then, to achieve maximum aesthetic appeal, he'd even stayed up late for 9 nights, revising the rose layout himself. I used to tease him. You're such a perfectionist. Even worse than me. He'd bent down and kissed my forehead. That's because this is our home. Our home. I looked away, leaned back into the seat, and closed my eyes. Now his parade of mistresses never ended, and I was the only one left tending to the roses. Our home had become their hotel. I didn't go to my parents' place. Instead, I went directly to a private retreat in the suburbs. The doctor was already waiting for me. According to current data, you show no signs of infection, he said, flipping through reports. But for absolute safety, it's best if you avoid close contact with anyone for the next month. I understand. I nodded. As for Mr. Hayes, he paused. Not finishing his sentence. Just keep observing him, I finished for him. Any results, let me know immediately. I moved into a small house at the very back of the retreat. My daily life was simple and routine. Follow UPS, medication. Reading, walks. I felt like patiently waiting for a countdown. On the 7th night, Keith called me. It was the first time he'd contacted me since I left. When I answered, the background was noisy. Like a business dinner. Where are you? He asked, his tone a little impatient. My parents' place, I said calmly. Why haven't you replied to my messages? He sounded annoyed. I haven't been feeling well these past few days. Maybe I'm just tired. When are you coming back? I'm not sure, I said softly. I still need to take care of my mother. He was clearly displeased. But kept his temper in check. Alright, well. Take care of yourself then. Before hanging up he added, oh. By the way, Chloe has been discharged. She doesn't know anyone in the city. So I've let her stay here for a few days. She's in your bedroom, so don't be surprised when you get back. And don't overthink it. I hummed in acknowledgement. Of course I wouldn't overthink it. Because that originally was the perfect place I had chosen for them. 4 more days passed. This time it was his assistant who called me. Ryan's voice on the phone was frantic. Mrs. Hayes. Mr. Hayes is in trouble. My fingers tightened around the phone. What happened to him? He had a high fever all last night that wouldn't break this morning. He was rushed to the hospital. The doctors. The doctor said the situation is a bit complicated. And asked for a family member to come in as soon as possible. I was silent for 2 seconds. Which hospital? Ryan gave me the address. It was the same one Chloe had been in. I understand, I said. I'll be there as soon as I can. After hanging up, I sat on the edge of the bed. Looking out at the quiet lawn. The sun was bright, too bright for anything bad to be happening. The doctor knocked and came in. He looked at me. Are you going out? Yes. I stood up to see my husband. He looked like he wanted to say more. But in the end he only said, please be careful. I smiled. Putting on my mask. Don't worry. I valued my life more than anyone. As the car drove into the city. My phone lit up again. It was a message from Keith. Where are you? I stared at the 2 words for a long time before replying. On my way. I don't feel good. The doctor is seeing to it. He was probably really unsettled whenever he'd been sick before. I was always there. By his bedside. Giving him water, medicine. Staying awake all night. He was used to me always being there. But this time he could only reach me through a screen. I didn't reply again. The hospital's disinfectant smell was heavy. Ryan waited for me at the entrance. His face looking worse than I'd imagined. Mrs. Hayes. He whispered. The doctor has done a preliminary check on Mr. Hayes. And suggested further specialized testing. I nodded. I know. When I pushed open the door to his room. Keith was propped against the headboard. Receiving an 4 drip. He'd lost a bit of weight and his complexion was terrible. The moment he saw me, he clearly froze. Then visibly relaxed. In that instant. The reliance in his eyes was almost primal. I walked over and placed my bag aside. What's wrong with you? I feel weak all over. He frowned. My head hurts, too. The doctor said it might be an infection. He said it so casually, as if he were talking about a common cold. I tucked the blanket around him. My movements as gentle as always. Don't worry, I said softly. You'll be all right. He looked at me. Then suddenly reached out and grabbed my wrist. Amelia. His voice was a little hoarse. This whole time. Thank you for everything. I looked down at the hand holding mine. His fingers were long and slender. Hands that had countless times led me through crowds. We're married, I said. Only then did he seem to relax. His eyes slowly closing. Not long after. The doctor entered and asked to speak with me outside. He met my gaze briefly before extending. The report. Amelia. The results are back. Took it. My eyes went straight to the decisive line. Confirmed infection. I was perfectly calm. So calm it even surprised me a little. Does he know yet? I asked. Not yet, the doctor said. In cases like this, we recommend a family member informs them. I nodded. I'll do it. When I returned to the room, Keith was still asleep. Sunlight lay across his peacefully innocent face, frozen in a moment before it all began. I sat by his bedside and watched him for a long while. Then I softly called his name. Keith. He opened his eyes. I looked at him. My voice as gentle as it had ever been. The doctor says you're quite ill. He froze. Ill with what? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I simply laid the report on the sheets before him. Keith stared at the paper. For a long time, the only sound in the room was the hum of the air conditioner and the rhythmic drip of the 4-bag. This is a mistake, he whispered. His voice trembled, stripping away the polished veneer of the arrogant socialite. He looked up at me, his eyes pleading, begging me to be the fixer I had always been. Amelia, tell them to run it again. It's a false positive. That happens. It happens all the time. I didn't blink. I reached out and adjusted the collar of his hospital gown, a gesture of intimacy that felt more like a mortician preparing a corpse. They ran it 3 times, Keith, I said softly. The viral load is undeniable. But He choked, his face flushing a deep, blotchy red. Chloe. That bitch. She looked clean. She said she was clean. He tried to sit up, tearing the 4-needle from the back of his hand. Blood welled up, a dark crimson bead against his pale skin. Where is she? I'm going to kill her. Lie down, I ordered. My voice wasn't loud, but it possessed a gravity that froze him. I grabbed a gauze pad and pressed it over his bleeding hand. You aren't going anywhere. You are weak, you are feverish, and you are currently a biological hazard. Do you want the press to see you like this? Bleeding and screaming in a hallway. He slumped back, defeated by his own vanity. Amelia, what do I do? My reputation. The merger. I'll handle the merger, I said. And as for your reputation, we control the narrative. For now, you have a severe case of pneumonia brought on by exhaustion. But Keith. Yes? You can't stay here. The paparazzi are already sniffing around the lobby. We need to move you home. To the estate. Home, he breathed, closing his eyes. Yes. Get me out of here. He didn't know that home was no longer a sanctuary. It was a quarantine zone. And the source of his destruction was waiting for him in the master bedroom. I arranged for a private ambulance. We entered the estate through the service entrance, avoiding the cameras. When they wheeled Keith into the foyer, the house felt cavernous. I had instructed the staff to leave. It was just us. Us, and Chloe. Take me upstairs, Keith groaned. I helped him up the grand staircase. He leaned heavily on me, his weight dead and oppressive. When we reached the master bedroom door, I paused. She's inside, I said. Keith stiffened. Get her out. No, I said calmly. You need to confront this. And you need to do it quietly. If you throw her out now, she goes to the press. She sells her story. The night I gave Keith Hayes HIV. Is that the headline you want? He ground his teeth. Open the door. I pushed it open. Chloe was sitting at the vanity, my vanity, applying mascara. She looked up, her face lighting up with a naive, practiced smile. Keith. You're back. Ryan said you were. She stopped. She saw the pallor of his skin, the sweat matting his hair, and the dark, murderous look in his eyes. Keith, she whispered. He didn't scream. He simply walked over to the bed, picked up the pillow she had been sleeping on, and threw it at her. Get out of my bed, he rasped. Baby, what's wrong? She stood up, reaching for him. Don't touch me. He recoiled, hitting the wall. You dirty, rotting little. He couldn't finish the sentence. He began to cough, a wet, hacking sound that rattled his chest. I stepped forward, sliding the medical report onto the vanity table, right next to her lipstick. Read it, Chloe. She picked up the paper. I watched her eyes scan the lines. I watched the color drain from her face, leaving her looking like a wax doll left too close to a fire. No, she whimpered. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You used, I said, My voice clinical. Needle sharing? Or was it an ex-boyfriend? It doesn't matter now. She looked at Keith, terrified. I'm sorry. Keith, please. Keith looked at her with pure revulsion. The same girl he had called fragile and refreshing a week ago was now a monster in his eyes. But he failed to see the irony, he was the mirror image of her. Both of you, listen to me, I said, taking charge. The power dynamic in the room shifted instantly. They were the sick children, I was the stern matron. Chloe, you aren't leaving, I stated. I want to go home, she sobbed. You have no home. You have no money. And if you step outside that gate, I will personally ensure that every media outlet knows exactly who you are and what you carry. You'll be a pariah. I walked to the window, the one I had opened weeks ago, and locked it. You will stay in the guest wing. You will sign a non-disclosure agreement. In exchange, I will pay for your treatment. I turned to Keith. And you? You will stay in this room. We are going to play the happy, recovering couple until the board meeting next month. You will sign over temporary power of attorney to me so I can manage the crisis. Power of attorney? Keith narrowed his eyes, a flicker of his old suspicion returning. Do you have the energy to fight the sharks, Keith? I gestured to his trembling hands. Look at you. You can barely stand. He looked at his hands. Then he looked at Chloe, who was weeping silently in the corner. Finally, he looked at me. You're the only one who's clean, he muttered. Thank God you didn't, thank God we didn't. Yes, I said, masking the cold amusement in my eyes. Thank God. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in theater. To the public, Keith was battling a severe viral infection complicated by stress. I was the devoted wife, photographed picking up prescriptions, looking wan and worried but impeccably dressed in charcoal and navy. Inside the house, I was the warden. I moved into the guest house permanently. I ordered food to be delivered to the main house, left on trays outside the doors. I hired a private nurse, one who signed an ironclad NDA, to attend to Keith's medical needs. Chloe was a ghost. She stayed in the East Wing, wasting away. I sent her medication, but I didn't send her comfort. The isolation was breaking her faster than the virus. Keith, however, was breaking in a different way. He was a man defined by control, and he had lost it all. On the 10th day, I entered his bedroom with a stack of documents. Ideally, the retroviral drugs would eventually stabilize him, but the initial onset combined with the sheer psychological shock had bedridden him. Sign here, I said, placing the papers on his lap. What is this? Asset transfers into a blind trust. To protect them from stock volatility if news of your condition leaks. He held the pen, hesitating. This gives you full control of the voting shares, Amelia. Would you rather the board vote you out for incompetence? If they find out you have HIV, Keith, the morality clause in your contract kicks in. You lose the chairmanship. You lose the severance. You lose the legacy. He flinched. The legacy was his god. You'll give it back, he said. It wasn't a question, it was a desperate affirmation. When I'm better. Of course, I lied. He signed. I watched the ink dry. That signature was worth $4 billion. It was the price of my silence, the price of my 2 lost children, the price of every lipstick stain I had washed out of his shirts. How is she? He asked suddenly, staring at the ceiling. Chloe. She's depressed. She asks about you. Don't let her near me. I won't. I gathered the papers. Oh, Keith. There's one more thing. What? The anniversary party. The one we planned months ago. He laughed, a dry, rasping sound. Cancel it. We can't. Invitations were sent. If we cancel, people will talk. I'm going to host it. Alone. I'll tell them you're resting upstairs. Fine, he waved his hand dismissively. Just go. The house was filled with flowers. Not roses. I had ordered white lilies. Thousands of them. The air smelled cloying, almost funereal. The elite of the city filled the ballroom. Champagne flowed. I wore a backless emerald gown that Keith had bought me years ago, a dress he used to say made me look like a trophy. Tonight, I felt like a hunter. Amelia, darling, where is Keith? Asked Mrs. van der Hoven, clutching a martini. He's devastated he can't be here, I said, my voice dripping with rehearsed sorrow. His immune system is just so compromised right now. Oh, poor dear. Give him our love. I will. Midway through the evening, I signaled the band to stop. I took the microphone. Thank you all for coming, I said. Keith and I have been married for 5 years. They say the first 5 years are the hardest. A ripple of polite laughter. But they also say that marriage is about sharing everything. Joy, sorrow, sickness. I paused. I looked up at the balcony overlooking the ballroom. The door to the master's suite was slightly ajar. I knew Keith was listening. Tonight, I want to make a toast. To the truth. Because without truth, a marriage is nothing but a contract. I raised my glass. To Keith. To Keith, the crowd echoed. As I sipped the champagne, my phone buzzed in my clutch. It was the notification I had been waiting for. The automated transfer of the assets was complete. The trust was locked. I was now the majority shareholder of Hayes Enterprises. I excused myself and walked out of the ballroom, leaving the party in full swing. I climbed the stairs, the sound of the jazz band fading with every step. I didn't go to Keith's room. I went to the east wing. I unlocked Chloe's door. She was sitting on the floor, surrounded by tissues. She looked up, her eyes red. Mrs. Hayes. Get up, Chloe. Where are we going? You're leaving. But, you said. I lied. I threw a duffel bag at her. There's $10,000 in cash in there and a one-way ticket to Seattle. My driver is waiting at the back gate. Why? Because you're boring me, I said. And because you've served your purpose. She didn't argue. She grabbed the bag and ran. She was young, she would survive, or she wouldn't. I didn't care. She was just a bullet I had fired. I walked into the master bedroom. Keith was awake, watching the gala on the closed-circuit TV feed. You looked beautiful, he said, his voice weak. He seemed softer, diminished. I'm sorry I ruined it. I sat in the armchair by the window, the same chair I had sat in the night he brought Chloe home. You didn't ruin it, Keith. You made it possible. He frowned. What do you mean? I reached into my purse and pulled out a pack of cigarettes. His brand. I lit one, the smoke curling into the sterile air of the sickroom. You shouldn't smoke, he coughed. It's bad for you. I'm not the sick one. I crossed my legs. Chloe is gone. I sent her away. Good. She didn't know she had it, Keith. I saw her medical records from before she met you. She was clean. He looked confused. But, then how? She was clean until she started sleeping with that drummer. About 3 months ago. Right around the time you moved her into the apartment downtown. Keith stared at me. How do you know that? I know everything. I knew when you bought her the Cartier bracelet. I knew when you took her to Cabo. And I knew when she contracted the virus. The silence in the room became deafening. The hum of the air conditioner seemed to stop. Keith slowly pushed himself up on his elbows. His eyes were wide, searching my face for a joke, a lie, anything. You knew, he whispered. Yes. And you let me. I let you sleep with her. I took a drag of the cigarette. I let you bring her into our bed on her birthday. I let you discard me like a piece of furniture. You knew she had HIV. His voice rose to a shriek. And you didn't tell me? Why would I? I asked, genuinely curious. You wanted her. You said she was fresh. You said she was different. I simply gave you what you wanted. You monster. He lunged for me, but he was too weak. He fell off the bed, crashing onto the carpet. He lay there, panting, glaring up at me with hatred. I'll sue you. I'll kill you. I'll tell everyone. Tell them what? I stood up and walked over to him, looking down. That your wife didn't stop you from cheating on her. That you were so busy chasing a skirt that you didn't bother to use protection. It's not my job to police your dick, Keith. I crouched down, bringing my face close to his. And as for suing me, you can't. You signed the blind trust. You gave me power of attorney. I own the house. I own the company. I own the very bed you just fell out of. He gasped, the realization hitting him harder than the virus ever could. You planned this. From the beginning. Not from the beginning, I corrected. Only since the second miscarriage. The one you missed because you were on a yacht with that Russian model. Remember her? Tears of rage and impotence streamed down his face. You're insane. I'm efficient, I said. And I'm finally free. I stood up and walked to the door. Amelia, he screamed. Don't you walk away from me. I need a doctor. Help me up. I stopped at the threshold. I looked back at the wedding photo on the wall, the one with the lipstick X on it. I hadn't cleaned it off. It seemed appropriate now. I called the orderlies, I said. They're coming to take you to a facility. A very private, very expensive facility in the Swiss Alps. The air is good for the lungs. You'll live there comfortably. Quietly. No. Amelia, please. Goodbye, Keith. 6 months later. I sat on the terrace, drinking tea. The morning mist was lifting, revealing the garden. The red roses were gone. I had dug them up weeks ago. In their place, I had planted hydrangeas. Blue, purple, chaotic, and wild. They didn't require perfection. They just required space. My phone rang. It was Ryan, now my personal assistant. Mrs. Hayes. The quarterly report is ready. The stock is up 12% since the restructuring. Excellent, I said. And, we received an update from the clinic in Zurich. I paused, the teacup hovering near my lips. Go on. Mr. Hayes passed away last night. Pneumonia. It was peaceful, they say. I looked out at the garden. A single butterfly landed on a blue hydrangea. Did he say anything? Before the end? He asked for you, Ryan said, his voice hesitant. He asked if you were coming. I set the cup down. The ceramic made a sharp clink against the saucer. Send flowers, I said. White lilies. He always hated them. And the funeral arrangements? Cremation. Scatter the ashes in the wind. He never liked staying in one place for too long. Understood, Mrs. Hayes. I hung up. The house was quiet. It was a large, empty, echoing space, and for the first time in years, the air felt clean. There was no scent of stale perfume, no lingering smoke, no lies hanging in the rafters. I walked down the steps into the garden. The soil was rich and dark under my boots. I knelt down by a patch of earth that looked a bit dry and began to weed it. The sun broke through the clouds, warm on my back. I was a widow. I was a tycoon. I was alone. I smiled, and this time, the laugh didn't catch in my throat. It rang out, clear and sharp, cutting through the morning air. I had learned how the world worked. And then, I had rewritten the rules.